Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here please consider subscribing because I've done loads of stuff and I've got loads more ideas, so why not hop on board and not miss out on anything. Anyway, I'm Katie and I have new art materials. I am so excited. Now, I'm only going to briefly go into the swatching sides, but if you want to skip ahead, by all means, and you can watch the painting. So Nika make poster colours, which I do believe Studio Ghibli use for the backgrounds on their animations. How cool's that, right? And I saw these for a bargain price of £20, and everywhere else I've seen them for 40, and they're not listed as 20 anymore, so obviously I did the right thing in buying them. And I've had them for like 2 months and not used them until today. Well, actually it's a couple of days ago when I actually started using them. This painting took a while, and I just wanted to see if they were anything like the gouache that I've been using for other paintings, and in a way they are, and in a way they're not. So I mean, I'm not an expert on the actual paints themselves, but they are less granulated, and when water's added to them, they seem to have a better watercolour consistency than perhaps the ones I got on the scroller box, which were listed as a gouache and a watercolour. Just to put some, well, just to give you an idea of what I'm comparing them to. The colours themselves are really nice to blend, and the transition of neat colour to thinned out colour is very nice and smooth, and they've got a nice bloom to them if you're into that kind of thing with your gouache. The colours included are white, black, carmine, orange, chrome yellow, lemon yellow, chrome green, viridian, cerulean blue, cobalt violet and burnt sienna, and that's quite a nice selection to start off with for a beginner's pack. Swatching these out and seeing how vibrant they are just sort of filled me with joy, and when the paints dried they pretty much stayed the same colour that they went down, which is always a good thing. I mean, we all do swatches first anyway to see what our paints and materials behave like, but it's nice to see that they don't change that much once they're dry. So all in all, swatching side of things, I'm pretty pleased with these. Anyway, this is what you're all here for. Well, I at least hope so. So I haven't painted a gouache dragon for a while, and I actually thought that these Nika poster colours would be the perfect opportunity to take them out for a spin. What I did first was just put a layer of white down before the blue on the dragon's body, because the paper itself is a slightly off-white and I wanted to eliminate that. And I really like how the blue merged with the white as well. It was really good. For the background, I have gone for a intense blue and purple, using the ones just neat from the tube, and then I tried to do a gradient. I did have to end up going over it again, and that's purely because that I might have pushed the water too much into the paint and watered it down too much, and I just wanted it to be a little bit more even. Now, I didn't want to do a Christmassy dragon because I've got the Christmas countdown, and I kind of just want anyone to look at this at any time of the year if you happen to stumble across my channel, and just like what they see and take it on face value. However, I did want it to be quite wintry, so you could say what inspired me here was diamond dust. So first thing in the morning where everywhere's just frozen over, and it's not snowed, but you've got a layer of frost over everything, or if it is snowing, it's very fine particle snow. That's sort of what I wanted to do here, and I also decided to incorporate the Van Gogh watercolour shift watercolours. Gosh, I nearly tripped over my words then, because you've just got all them iridescent colours in there. I flicked some of the paint on the background, and I also used it to colour in the circle in the background too. Picking up from the colours within them watercolours, Gosh, I'm really making things confusing here, but bear with me. Picking up from the colours in the iridescent colours, I went back to the poster paints and just added them into the tufts of fur, his beard and his scales, because I thought that would be a nice way of just reflecting the surroundings on it. And I know it looks a little bit peculiar at the moment, but I haven't added any outlines to it, so it's just going to. I always think it's a bit weird when I'm doing a picture and the last thing I paint in are the eyes, because I mean that must look really freaky. Does anybody else do the eyes last? I mean, not just the outlines of the eyes, I mean like the pupil and the iris. Does anybody else do that till last, just to make sure it's like the final thing, or one of the most, it's one of the last things I tend to paint. It just seems like the right place to put closure on a picture. However, let's get back to outlines. So I do mix in the cerulean blue with just a tintsy bit of white to do a first initial outline. This thing I seem to be doing at the moment, where I use a fine pen, colour it in and then go over it in a fine pen again, seems to have carried across to my painting. So maybe this is how I've evolved at the moment. This is what I need to do to feel good about a picture. But that's okay, that's okay. And I'm starting to feel a lot better about how this picture's developed. It's just taken on a much stronger form and everything's looking a lot better. Now, I wanted the dragon's horns to look like shards of ice or icicles, but I also wanted those other colours to be picked up, and I quite like it. There's quite a nice crystalline structure to it, and I think that adds a nice bit of a contrast to the sort of soft fluffy dragon we've got here. It's just making him look a bit more wintry. So do any of you lot get excited about materials and wait for the right painting to work on? I feel a bit torn with these paints because they are so nice to work with. I obviously have different paints for different jobs, but as far as opaque paints go, these are my favourite. I also like the jelly pot gouache as well, but these are really nice. The jelly pot ones are pretty cheap in comparison and easy to replace, whereas these cost a fortune and I'm going to have to ration them out. Oh boy. I best make sure I use them on a worthwhile project, which I hope this has been. I was even impressed by how none of the paint pulled up when I removed the masking tape, and sometimes I tend to find with the gouache that happens because it can dry quite brittle, and obviously when it's on a surface that flexes it will flake and come off. That didn't happen with this, which was super surprising. Anyway, I really hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope it's just been a nice break from the Christmas countdown. Obviously I'm still doing that, so make sure you're still following along and hit subscribe if you haven't so you don't miss out. Don't forget to hit like if you've enjoyed this. If you've got anything to say about this picture as well, I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I will see you on the next video. See you soon guys, bye.